Hi and welcome everyone to ABG Sundal Collier's Investor Days. My name is Stefan Knutsson. I'm an equity analyst here at ABG covering the service sector. And with me today I have Prevas CEO Johan Strid, and we will listen in to him for 15-20 minutes followed by a Q&A session. So welcome Johan, and please go ahead.
Thank you. Good morning everyone. I'm Johan Strid, CEO of Prevas. I've been around in the company for about 4 years, since 2018. And for those of you who don't know Prevas by heart, I will just start by putting us on the map. We are a consultancy firm. We have about 1.3 billion Swedish crowns in turnover. We've been around since 85 and a public noted company since 98. We are 900 employees in Sweden, Norway and Denmark. And starting with some big words in the beginning of our presentation, we are working with saving lives, improving the climate, and making society more safe. I will explain more later on regarding that. So that was us very briefly, but before going into details about Prevas, I would just like to paint a picture about the environment around us, and I picked a few trends that affects our customers, our partners, us as individuals, and also impacting on Prevas, of course. So these are a few of them, and it's quite a complex picture, of course. These trends interact and they counteract, of course, and there are some general patterns as well, and there are some overlying trends on top of this. For example, regarding demography, we're getting more people on the planet, we're getting older, we're getting wealthier, sicker and healthier, depending on how you view it. So that's one mega trend in itself, impacting a lot of this. There are also some economical trends, for example, regarding gig economy, affecting consultancy company as Prevas a lot. It's a circle economy, moving over to sustainability, which includes our customers and so on. And of course, there are a lot of technical trends as well. And general pattern going from the steam engine to the transistor to internet to artificial intelligence is that the pace is going faster and faster, and all these trends interact in different type of ways. So it's interesting. And you can be a little bit frightened about this, of course. It's about integrity. It's about security as well. But at Prevas, we have a positive attitude towards this. So this is our slogan, Hello Possibility. Look at the different possibilities that technology bring. And it's actually so important for us. So it's our vision, our driving purpose. Ingenuity will save the world. Being innovative, being creative, doing good things with technology and try to improve the world. And some of you might argue that we don't need to save it. Hopefully right, but we can make it better anyway. And these type of problems, regardless if it's a climate improvement or building a new factory in the middle of Sweden, the problems are so complex, so you need to interact with others. So it's important to have the ability to have good cooperation with others. And we want to co-create technological advancement for the betterment of all. Of course, it's about profit for our customers, increasing the revenue, decreasing the costs and so on. But at the same time, we can aiming at improving the planet and also making better for people at the same time. So this is our mission. So what do we actually do at Prevas? Well, we're quite focused as a consultancy company. We have two main offerings. It doesn't include everything, but the general 80-20 rule. The first offering is about product development. We help our customers to develop products. These products are typical physical products. They include mechanics, design, electronics and hardware, embedded software and application software. And how this interact is really interesting and quite complex to understand how to do that in a good way. So this is One example, the inflatable helmet, the bicycle helmet from Hövding. We haven't done all of it. We have done parts of it, and we have helped the customer with that. It has some advanced sensor. It has built-in artificial intelligence, how to decide if the cyclist is falling or climbing off the bicycle, for example. And in this case, we have helped the customer to change the mechanics and the construction so it's cost efficient to produce. Their problem was that they sold all the helmets they had, but they lost money on each helmet. So we designed it in a way so it's more cost efficient to produce that. So that's a typical example. And many of the products that we develop are really, really complex and advanced. We're working in the medtech area. This is an example of testing for sepsis. Today it takes about 72 hours to decide which type of antibiotics to use. And our customer had a medical idea how to change that dramatically, but they didn't have the know-how how to develop an instrument realizing that. So they have used us as their development partner. We have done more or less everything from scratch, the design, construction, the mechanics, hardware, electronics, and so on, and also preparing the tests and verifications. So it's a long-term project for several years, lots of consultants. And now they have taken more over of the next phases and so on, and we have helped them building their quality system and so on. And many of these products are connected. We're working with Internet of Things, and it's about maintaining the products in a good way and having end-user relationships with the end users as well. So we have done about 8,000 different products. Sometimes we take responsibility for everything, and sometimes we provide a consultant on premise at the customer site. And since we have done this so many times for 30 years, we know the pitfalls. So many of the customers use us as their guiding partner. We know how to design it in a good way so it's maintainable, it's sustainable, and so on. And preparing certifications from authorities and so on. So that was the first offer. The second offer is about production development, manufacturing different type of products. And their drivers today is sustainability, but also flexibility. Their end customers want 27,000 of this one, 20,000 of this one, but next week instead. So it's a lot about flexibility and building factories where you can change your production all the time. And also about traceability and trackability. For example, if you're building a windmill and it falls down, you need to prove later on exactly which screws you used and the momentum you used when you screw them into the steel and so on. So it's about traceability and having the ability to track everything. And today it's lots about automation. It's a trend called blockification. You're moving the manufacturing back to Europe and to Scandinavia, and then you want a very high degree of automation. This is an example of a cobot. It's not a robot, it's a collaborative robot replacing the humans handling the robots. So that's where we are today. We introduced the first one in Sweden a few years ago. So it's a very high degree of automation. So what we do is typically we buy a robot from ABB on behalf of the customer. We customize it, we build a production line, we handle internal logistics and the manufacturing or management systems, improving and optimizing the manufacturing parts. So that's what we do. And we have different type of segments. We have several segments that are stable and they have increasing demand over time. Telecommunications, energy, defense, and in others you have food industry and government sector, for example. And the life science segment is also very stable and increasing demand. We are also working with engineering or manufacturing, vehicles and steel and mineral. They are changing a little bit more over time, but the underlying demand is increasing over time. And these are the top customers, the largest customers, but we're also working with startups in Uppsala, in Lund, in Copenhagen, and so on. So we're working with doctors and nurses who have ideas how to make a new invention, and then we become their development partner. So, why does the customers choose us? This is a generic model. In general, they choose a vendor because they are the cheapest one, the best one, or you have the best relationships. Simplified, of course. And this is our positioning. We are aiming at being at the best in Stockholm, in Sweden, in Europe, or in the world, depending on the specific offering, and also have really good relationships with the customers. Many of the customers been around since we started the company, or 25 years ago, and so on. So we have common planning, roadmaps, and so on. And you might ask, well, can't you decide, should it be the best one or have the best relationships? Well, we are a network of 35 different units, and each unit has a clear idea of their positioning at the market. And when we combine this, we have a really strong combination of really good relationships and really good spearhead offerings. So it's a strong combination. And some other key aspects in our strategy. Adding value, I know it's a buzzword, but it's important in the consultancy industry to understand when you're relevant and when you're interesting for the customers. And we sell our time and our competence, but at the same time, we're building a structure capital. So we have instruments, laboratories, frameworks, reusable components, processes, and so on. So we don't start from scratch in each project. So we reuse the infrastructure that we have, which also means that we have a competitive edge compared to other consultancy firms in the exact spearhead offerings that we have. We are a decentralized organization. That means that each unit has an idea of their existence, how to develop their business, and then we combine this in a dynamic way. So we have a small central overhead, not trying to control this, but more facilitating the network. So sometimes the experts on steel industry in Karlstad, they combine their competence with a user experience specialist in Malmö, with a machine learning specialist in Stockholm. Then you have a really interesting combination that no other competitor has at that time. So nurturing the network, and also being attractive as an employer, that's the key issue. We have worked with that for a long time, and now we feel that we're really attractive and we have an inflow of talents into Prevas. And also action, trying new things and being innovative. So that was a few words about Prevas and what we do, for whom and how. So if we look at the perspective a little bit, this is our development the past years. The blue are in profit per quarter, and orange is our margin. So before 2018, we had a fairly bad performance. We lost money sometimes, and we had a low margin, and so on. Then we did a few changes in end of 2018. Then we increased the margin and the profit. And what we did here was that we prioritized profitability. And we did a few changes. We changed from a central organization to a decentralized organization. We simplified the organization and the processes. We reduced the costs. We reduced the overhead, mainly the central overhead. So we reduced that. And after a time, the profit level increased. Then we added a growth component. When you have about 10% margin or something like that, the next step is to grow your revenue and also grow the profit in kronor. So in the middle of the COVID crisis, we started our growth strategy. It's both about acquisitions and organic growth. And now we have about 12% margin and increasing the profit every quarter. So a few examples of progress this year. The first 3 quarters, we made 2 acquisitions in the spring. This is Q1 to Q3. We actually have done 2 more in November. So it's 4 different acquisitions this year. We have increased the ratio of women. That's a challenge that we have in our company. We were 17% in the beginning of the year, and now we're 20%. So it's a good progress, but it's still too low. And we have grown with about 150 employees, including the 2 last acquisitions. So we started at 750, and now we're 900. We have gained about 100 new customers the first 3 quarters, and we do have an active sales, but most of the customers are incoming. We are active on different seminars, conferences, and so on. And since we have these spearheaded offerings, we are well known for those, and potential customers contact us, and that's a really good start of a relationship. We are an active part in society, and it's mainly in our assignments that we contribute to a better world. One example in the steel industry, it's not very sexy, but it's really important to reduce the carbon emission in that industry. And we have a solution for that we actually own. It's used more or less in all steel furnaces in Sweden, and now we're moving to Germany, to Spain, and so on. And we charge for that solution. And we also have an incentive. If we reduce the energy consumption more, we get a bonus on top of that. So it's a good example where the customer win, we win, and the climate win. So we have trying to build that type of solutions. A few figures. We had about 10% margin last year. We increased that to 12% this year. We're increasing the profit and profit per share, and we're also increasing the service to investors. Being present at this type of presentation, having the reports in English, and so on. So that was a little bit about our development. A few words about our share. This is the development the past years, and it's more or less the same or correlated to increase in profit. That's natural. And this is compared to, not competitors, I would say, it's other type of consultancy firms and related to index as well. Now you might ask if it's too high valued. It's not for me to say, it's more for ABG or someone else, and this is some numbers on that. If you compare EV over EBIT, we have about 8.5, and the average is 12.5. It's a few weeks old, so it changed. I think the correlation or the relation is the same right now. So, ending up with the way forward. We got inflation, we have wars, a lack of components, and a large demand for know-how about technology, and also a large demand for companies who have the ability to apply technology and take on responsibility. It's not enough to know your Java programming or something like that. You need to understand complex problems and how to solve that and start a project for that. So we have a clear view on our market position, how we're working with employer branding, how to develop the company further. So it's about executing on that strategy and at the same time being agile about the type of business and business climate and so on. So that was Prevas, what we do, our development, and a few words about the future. I'm open for all type of questions.
Thank you, Johan, for a very interesting presentation. I would like to start off, you showed us an impressive graph there, or a chart with your EBIT development, and that the second part of that was to add growth. You have done a few acquisitions of late in November in Koteko and Myra Design. Can you tell us a little bit more about why you choose to acquire those companies, and also how you work strategically with assessing M&A targets?
Yeah, we are working continuously with that. And as mentioned, we are a network of 35 different business units, and we are looking for the next node in our network. And that node could be a complement to what we have today. Like Myra, they're working with industrial design. It was a competence that we don't have. So when we welcome that node in our network, the whole network becomes stronger. So that's one type of acquisition that we are looking for. And the other type is more about increasing the capability to deliver. And that was the Koteko case. And we're looking both for financial healthy companies, like Myra, but also looking for turnarounds. More or less the same situation that Prevas was in 2018. Really good engineers, good customers, good solutions, but maybe not that efficient in the financial performance. So in our network, we can welcome them and they can perform better with the same type of business. So we're looking for both type of acquisitions.
Perfect. And then the second part of growth will obviously be organic growth. We have seen some macro headwinds of late, if you look for that. But in your point of view, how is the market that you face right now?
It's still very busy. That's the main challenge for Prevas and our type of companies. It's not a Prevas-specific challenge to finding the right employees that are dedicated and want to be a part of a company. So that's the biggest challenge. But we think that we are in a good position and we have a lot of people coming back. I think about a large portion of the new employees has actually been at Prevas before, maybe a long time before or a few years back. So I think we're in a good position right now.
And if you read the reports from Almega, for example, they say that there is still a huge shortage of staff expected going forward, and that they see or expect solid order intake, whereas they are not that optimistic about price increases going forward. Is this a view that you share, or
No.
do you see something else?
No, I don't know, of course. It's a very tricky question. But so far, the important part for us is to have the ratio between prices and salaries remained or improved. And so far, it's been a really good discussion with the customers how to keep that. So we have a good relationship with the customers, and maybe it's dangerous to say, but I think it's been quite easy to increase the prices this year. How it will be next year, I don't know, of course. But the important part is to keep the ratio between salaries and prices.
Perfect. And then I would like to talk a little bit more about the EU initiatives that is launched in order to make the region carbon neutral by 2050. Is that something that you see act as a tailwind for you as a company, as the whole group, or just part of different segments?
I think in general it's driving a demand for changes and investments. We're active in the northern part of Sweden, for example, and a lot of in the manufacturing industry. And it's not only that, it's about choosing the right components when you produce or design products. So I think it's a strong driver in general. And this specifically, we're working with the steel industry, for example. So yes, absolutely.
And then you also released a few press releases that you won software deals that you have developed in-house and delivered to the customers. How is the business model looking for orders like that, and does it differ materially from what you usually offer the customers?
Yeah, we prefer time and material. I think that's the best business model for the customers and for us as a company as well, because many of the customers, they have a changing demand and then they don't know exactly what they want from the beginning. So trying to define that in a requirement specification is too hard. So it's good to have a flexible model, but then you can add incentives on top of that and bonuses and so on. So we're trying to keep it simple, and at the same time adding a few items on top of that. And I think that's a good combination.
So if you are successful in delivering those projects, there is a possibility that you earn a good profitability or better profitability in those contracts?
Yeah, sometimes yes.
Okay, perfect. I think we're running out of time. I would like to thank you very much, Johan, for coming and presenting with us here today.
Thank you. Thank you.